No peace.
No justice.
No peace.
No justice.
No peace. Stop those racist ass police.
I'm gonna ask everybody to.
No.
This is why we say.
This is why we say
NYPD KKK.
NYPD KKK.
IOF, they're all the same.
IOF, they're all the same.
NYPD KKK.
These protesters are upset about the police shooting of 37-year-old Derrell Mickles. During the shooting, 2 bystanders and 1 police officer were also accidentally hit by gunfire. Mr. Mickles was initially contacted by police for jumping the turnstile at the subway station to avoid a toll of $2.90. Thus, during one of the protests, protesters decided to jump the turnstile themselves. Are the protesters right? Is this a bad shooting? Is it a justified shooting? Is it a criminal shooting? Or is it just a tragic accident? Who knows? I do, and I'm here to break the whole thing down for you. September 15, 2024, New York, New York. Mr. Derrell Mickles goes onto the subway platform without paying the required toll of $2.90. NYPD officers Edmund Mays and Alex Wong go after him and kick him out. On his way out, Mr. Mickles brandishes a knife. Shortly thereafter, Mr. Mickles returns. This time, he goes onto the subway platform through the exit door, again avoiding the toll. Officer Mays and Officer Wong go after him again. Mr. Mickles says, "I'm gonna make you kill me if you don't leave me the F alone."
Go drop the knife. Go drop the knife.
Stop dropping nothing. Shoot. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Leave me alone.
Put the knife down.
Leave me alone.
Put it down. Put it down.
Down. Shoot.
Put the knife down. Put the knife down.
Put it down.
Put the knife down. Put it down.
Put it down. Put it down.
All right. Show me your hands.
Don't touch me, man. What's wrong with y'all, man?
On the train?
Don't, sir. Don't touch me.
Put it down. Put it
Don't
down.
touch
Put
me.
it down.
Put it down.
Put it down.
Shoot.
Put the knife down.
Shoot.
Put the knife down. Yo.
Officer Wong attempts to tase Mr. Mickles, but it doesn't work. Using the taser in this situation is justified. Officer Wong has probable cause to arrest Mr. Mickles for fare evasion. Mr. Mickles is refusing commands and has a deadly weapon. Side note, if you're a bystander and the police are trying to arrest a guy with a knife and he's 2 feet from you, use some common sense and get the heck out of there.
Yo, take the taser.
Officer Mays attempts to tase Mr. Mickles as well, but his attempt fails as well. Although Officer Mays' use of the taser at this point is legal and justifiable, it is not a good idea. An officer who chooses to use a less lethal tool against a suspect with a deadly weapon should have lethal cover. That means that one of these officers should have a gun out and one should have a taser out, just in case Mr. Mickles decides to charge at them. Also, in that formation, the officers should be standing shoulder to shoulder. If they don't, this could happen.
You still got that knife?
Yep. Taser.
Put the f***ing knife down! Drop the g***ing knife! Drop it!
Let it go. No.
Get out there! Go.
Shooting a suspect moving laterally is much more difficult than shooting a suspect moving directly toward you. And there you go. Officer Mays has his taser out instead of his gun, and now he's getting charged by a man with a knife. And it's tough for his partner to help him in this position. Any shots Officer Wong fires towards Mr. Mickles will go towards Officer Mays as well. Okay, let's freeze it right here, because Officer Wong and Officer Mays are going to start shooting in like 1 millisecond. So let's talk about all the different factors that led up to this shooting. Mr. Mickles entered the subway once without paying for the fare. The officers kicked him out without issuing a ticket, arrest, or use of force. Then Mr. Mickles did it again, and the officers attempted to detain him. When they did, Mr. Mickles brandished a knife and said, "No, I'm going to make you kill me." The officers took it a step up and tried to tase Mr. Mickles. Then Mr. Mickles charged Officer Mays. Then Mr. Mickles stops and the officers start shooting. Okay, this shooting was justified. I understand the argument that a lot of people are going to make. They're going to say Mr. Mickles was stopped. He wasn't charging at the moment they shot him. However, Mr. Mickles is standing very close to Officer Wong and fairly close to Officer Mays. Here's how close he is to Officer Wong. At that distance, he could be on top of Officer Wong and stabbing him in like 1 second, maybe 2 tops. And Mr. Mickles has shown a willingness to escalate this incident to that point by being uncooperative, telling the officers to shoot him, and rushing Officer Mays. Conversely, the officers have shown a willingness to resolve this incident peacefully by kicking Mr. Mickles out of the subway with a warning, giving him verbal commands, and using a less lethal option to try to subdue him. Let's say the officers try to give Mr. Mickles more commands instead of shooting him right now. Here's how fast the situation could change from Mr. Mickles just standing there to being on top of Officer Wong with a knife. This incident occurred in Las Cruces, New Mexico this year, and this officer did not survive. If you haven't watched this one, I invite you to watch the unedited version. It is extremely brutal and shows how fast a man with a knife can attack. Alright, let's continue. I'm gonna have to blur it and mute the gunshots.
Put it down! Put it down! I'm shot! You ready? Put it down! Put it down! Fire ground! Put it down! Sector, shots fired! Put it down! Put it down! Put it down! Put it down! Put it down!
Okay, now that we've determined that the shooting of Mr. Mickles was justified, we have to figure out if the officers should be prosecuted for hitting the bystanders. Clearly, the shooting of the bystanders was accidental, and accidents can be criminal in nature. Accidents which carry criminal culpability generally fall into 2 categories: reckless and negligent. A reckless accident is going to carry a higher degree of culpability than a negligent accident. Here's an example of a reckless shooting. This shooting was so reckless and so outside the scope of normal human behavior that Ms. Rodriguez would have been charged with murder had she killed anybody, even though she may not have intentionally been trying to kill anybody. Here's a shooting that I think may fall under the negligent category.
Bring your hand underneath the trigger guard and roll your palms together. So both your hands are going to sit on the left-hand side of the pistol. You're going to walk out both your arms. You're going to push with your right and pull with your left. Focus on that front sight tip. Now, if you want on this 44 Magnum, you can shoot it single action. The next plate trigger pull.
Did you mean to do that?
Yeah.
This guy isn't being super reckless with the gun. It seems like he's trying to keep it pointed in a safe direction, but he is kind of waving it around while messing with the single action feature. So yeah, I'd call this one a negligent shooting. If this guy had hit anybody during this shooting, he could have faced some criminal charges, but not to the degree of randomly firing at a car window while driving through a residential neighborhood. There are a couple factors that point to this being a negligent shooting by Officer Wong. He is using one hand to shoot. The reason being he's still holding his taser with his left hand. He also has to know that there's a fair probability that there's people in that subway car behind Mr. Mickles, and that the subway car is probably not bulletproof. However, after reviewing his shots, it seems like they're all reasonably on target. The fact that he tried many other ways to resolve this incident prior to the shooting also points in his favor. At the end of the day, Mr. Mickles forced Mr. Wong to make a difficult split-second decision, and you can't throw a man in jail unless he's guilty beyond all reasonable doubt, and that threshold was not met in this situation. Officer May's shooting background is terrible as well. There's a bystander right in line with his target, but I don't believe Officer May's conduct rises to the level of negligence either. If you disagree with my analysis, I invite you to watch episodes 2 and 4 of the Force Review before commenting. In episode 2, an LAPD officer shot an innocent bystander on accident. In that shooting, I determined that the officer's conduct did not rise to the level of criminal negligence. Both the LAPD police chief and the police commissioners disagreed with me, believing that the officer was negligent. But at the end of the day, they were wrong, I was right. In that incident, the California Attorney General decided not to prosecute the officer. In episode 4, I predicted that the officer would be charged with reckless homicide. This prediction proved accurate. Former Columbus police officer Ricky Anderson was charged with murder and reckless homicide in the killing of Donovan Lewis. The murder charge was an overreach by the prosecution, but the reckless homicide charge will stick. So although I don't believe the officers should be criminally prosecuted, there are some things they could have done better. I don't believe that Officer Mays should have taken any shots. That bystander is just too close to his target, and his partner, Officer Wong, is in a better position to take shots. Officer Wong should have dropped his taser and taken a two-handed grip on his gun, and then fired 1 or 2 controlled shots, rather than the 5 or 6 shots he took. And that will do it for episode 20 of the Force Review. Please subscribe, like, comment.